Okay, so I've got the drawing part done. Now I'm going to show you how to use marker and watercolor to be able to paint this picture. We're going to do a monochromatic color scheme. Well, actually, we're just going to do tints and shades of gray. So there's really not any color in it whatsoever. It's all neutral. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint this petal right here. And I'll put this up close. I'm going to paint this petal right here. Whoops, right here. Okay, so you can see how I do the darks and the lights. I've got a black Crayola marker and a gray Crayola marker. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this over here so I can get to my water. Nope, you need to be able to see this. So you have to really look and see where the dark shadows are, okay? I'm going to put this right above it so you can see what I'm painting. So this is the petal that I'm painting. And you can see where there's dark right in here. Dark right in here. There's a little bit of light right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my black where it's the darkest. And you can see my black Crayola. And I am going to shade right up against that line. And I want to shade towards the direction of the curves of the petal. I've got my little accent lines that I put in there. So you've got to be able to determine what's dark, what's medium, and what's light. So I'm just going to go in and put a little bit of this gray, of this black in here. And then I'm going to fill it in with some gray. All right. So I like to use the side of my point. Okay. Notice how I curved with the contour of the petal. Now I'm going to go in with my gray and I'm going to use the side of the point again. See how I'm holding it? You can hold it like this if you want to. But I'm going to hold it at an angle like this. And I'm going to fill it in some. I like to go over my black with my gray. And you've got to work on this one petal at a time because you want the Crayola to stay wet while you are working on it. And then I'm just going to put a little bit out here. Okay. Now I'm going to take, I've got my black watercolor. And I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to blend some black on it too, so it'll help tone it out. You need to make sure you have your paper towel ready as well, so that you can pick up anything that you think is too dark. So I'm going to blot that some. And then I'm going to blend this out. And I'm still brushing with the contour and curve of the petal. I'm dipping my brush in water. And if you think it's too dark anywhere, just pick up some of that color. And I really don't want to see my accent lines. I want them to be shades. So I'd get rid of the line by putting two different values next to each other. That means I want one shade next to a different shade, not separated by a line. Okay? Now, I want to do this top part that goes towards the center. And I'm going to put some dark gray up there towards the top. And then I'm going to blend it out. I'm going to do one more petal when I'm done with this one, and then I'm going to cut you loose to go ahead and work on yours. And then what I would do is I would give it a second to dry before you like work right next to it. Okay? And then if you need to feel like it needs to be touched up at all, just take your paintbrush and spread it out. You'll notice that this black kind of turns into a bluish color of the Crayola. And when it's dry, you can go back and put in darker shades too if you want. All right, I'm gonna do this petal that's right here, so you can see again how to do it. This one doesn't have quite as many accent lines, but there is a shadow right here. And it gets pretty darn dark down here. Okay, then I'm gonna go in with my gray. Notice that I'm shading and with the direction and contour of the petal. It gets a little lighter as it goes towards the top of this, so I'm going to leave it white for now. And then this is pretty dark in here. Be careful not to touch the wet from the petal next to it. Now, I still like to put a little bit of black on my water, just to have a little tint to my water, but you don't want it too black. So I'm going to blend this in. It's a little too dark. It's got a highlight around here, you can see. Put a little black on my Pick it up. Okay, after it dries a little bit, I'll go back in and try to get rid of these lines. By putting two different values next to each other. Like that. Okay. I'll do one more over here so you can see what I'm talking about. So that's going to be this one. And let's see, when I look at that, it's darker up here. Try not to touch this wet part so it doesn't bleed. Then I'm going to go through and put some shadow accent lines. Then I'm going to go through and put some in-between values. Notice how I'm doing long strokes that curve with the curve of the petal. And I'm going to blend it out. Put a little black on my cup on my paintbrush. Make sure you got water in it. And blend this out. Okay. So I will go back in and try to make things pop out by putting two values next to each other. So I'm going to put this right here. And I don't want a black line, but I want it to fade out so that you can see this edge. See the edge? And this probably needs to be a little darker here with my black. Okay, so that's how you use, let me put this up so you can see. Those are my petals so far, and hopefully it will look good when I get done. But that's how you paint using your Crayola markers and black watercolor paint.